Eran Katz, a renowned Guinness World Record holder in memory stunts who can remember 500 consecutive digits. He first came to Vietnam in 2009, holding seminars and publishing books about the power of the brain. Eran Katz's recent visit to Vietnam this year wowed audiences again, as they watched him recite consecutive digits forwards and backwards after hearing them only once.
From the last digit to the first one, we have 3, 8, 0, 6, 1, 4, 7, 6, and 2.
So, what are his secrets?
Have you ever wanted to remember all the 50 contacts from an important conference of your life, or hundreds of phone numbers without a phone book, or simply just a shopping list for the weekend? Well, you may ask yourself how you can do that, or why is it still necessary to do so in this modern age of technology, which does basically all the thinking and memorizing for us. We are going to find the answer from our guest for today, Eran Katz, who is here in Vietnam for the 3rd time, and this is a follow-up from the previous interviews we've done with him. Hello, Eran. Now, welcome back to Vietnam.
Thank you, Michael.
And thank you very much for joining our show. Now, first of all, in the house, we've got plenty of non-believers here. Would you like to cast away all the doubts?
I would love to.
Okay.
I like to transform non-believers into believers.
Okay, so here's the exciting part. What I'm going to do is to get each of you from that row to give us a random number that comes up to your mind for the first time. And then Eran is going to write down that number, and he will explain to us what happens next. So is that okay for us to work together on this? Okay, cool. And challenge him, all right? Okay, so let's start from you in black first.
2,
2,
6,
6,
3,
And
3.
Okay, that'll do.
I don't know how you're going to do this, man. This looks like a lot to me already.
Thank you, Michael. So I will repeat the number from the first digit to the last one. We have 2, 6, 7, 4, 8, 5, 7, 4, 0, 9, 3, 4, 8, 5, 4, 7, 9, 5, 1, 6, 8, 1, 6, 0, 8, and 3.
Wow.
Thank
How
you.
about a new challenge? Do
Sure.
it backwards.
Backwards?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, what? Okay.
From the last digit to the first one, we have 3, 8, 0, 6, 1, 8, 6, 1, 5, 9, 7, 4, 5, 8, 4, 3, 9, 0, 4, 7, 5, 8, 4, 7, 6, and 2.
That gave this guy a Guinness record, everyone. Now, what's the science behind this?
Well, actually, people normally look at this stunt and they think there's 1 or 2 ways to remember this by adding numbers together or creating groups. I'm actually using an ancient Jewish system called gematria, where basically I'm converting numbers into letters and I'm creating words. So actually every 2 digits is a word for me, and 20 digits or whatever are 10 words that I create this kind of associative story with these words. So I don't remember numbers at all. I'm remembering words right now. That's how it works.
So can you share the story about how you went about developing this skill of yours?
My personal story.
with the technique?
Well, this technique I learned, it was my hobby. I read books about memory improvement, and this was like a magic trick. I like magic tricks, and this is memory magic. So I started to perform these tricks on my friends to show them, and then one day I thought, okay, maybe this can also help me for school. And sure enough, these techniques can change your life at school. You can actually remember twice as much material in half the time. It works.
So how long did it take you to master the technique?
This specific one, I believe everyone can do in several days. Seriously, several days, that's all. That's all. And it's helpful if you want to remember historical dates, financial data, anything that has to do with numbers. It's a skill, it's an acquired skill that you have to practice a little bit. By the way, there are memory championships, and unlike popular belief, those that compete practice 8 hours a day on memory stunts, because it is a skill that anyone can develop. You were not born with an absolutely amazing memory. Okay, people have different kinds of memories. Nobody has a super memory for everything.
So besides it just being a challenge for yourself, you know, these days we have all these computers, technology to, you know, help us do all the thinking. Why do you think memorizing and using your own organic intelligence is still relevant in the modern day context?
I think it's part of the human challenge to prove what we can do with our brains, because you know, nowadays we believe that we don't need our brains so much because of technology, because of too much overload. Technology is good, it helps us in various ways, but it will never replace the human memory, because we will always need it for different kind of tasks. For example, when you're sitting with a friend in a coffee shop, you want to talk about many subjects without looking all the time at your computer. Imagine, for example, a physician in a surgery room. He doesn't remember what he has to do. He's going to look at technology. He will look at Google. Okay, now I have to take the heart out, and now what I have to do? No, he has to use his memory. You want to talk languages, learn the language, and talk with other people. It's important. Remembering names and faces. If you're a businessman, you want to remember your clients. It's like running a marathon or climbing the Everest. It's something that we want to challenge our brain to see how far we can get. That's what I did, actually. So my unusual way was to try to remember 500 numbers given to me. And that was my challenge, so my personal challenge.
10 surprising facts about how our brain works.
Number 1. Your brain does creative work better when you are tired.
Number 2. Stress can change the size of your brain and make it smaller.
Number 3. It is literally impossible for our brains to multitask.
Number 4. Naps improve your brain's day-to-day performance.
Number 5. Your vision trumps all other senses.
Number 6. Introversion and extroversion come from different wiring the brain.
Number 7. We tend to like people who make mistakes more.
Number 8. Meditation can rewire your brain for the better.
Number 9. Exercise can reorganize the brain and boost your willpower.
Number 10. You can make your brain think time is going slowly by doing new things.
Speaking of memory, what are some of the misconceptions about memory and the brain?
Well, many times people think that our memory is limited. That I remember during the exams at the university, I would greet my friends and say, "How are you?" And they would say, "Don't talk to me right now. I have the exact amount of information for the next 3 hours. If you say something, it will enter one ear and part of the information for the exam will go out the other ear." That is not true. Till the end of our lives, we can actually remember so much more. Researchers show that more or less, more than 90% of our memory is not in use, okay? We hardly use 10%. So the more you use your memory, the better it becomes. There's another misconception that it deteriorates in old age. It's not entirely true because many people at old age can remember lots of information. It depends on the motivation they have to remember. You can see really wise people at an older age, they want to teach, they want to study, and their memory is fine. So it's not black and white.
So you mentioned the fear of, losing memory and all that. How do you enhance brain power to better your memorization skills?
Anything you do instead of technology helps you. For example, if you solve crossword puzzles, Sudoku, even video games, as funny as it sounds, they help our brain because if you want to advance from one level to the other, you have to remember certain things, you have to prevent mistakes, and all that helps our memory. Another thing is to be multi-talented. Develop several skills. Try cooking, try horse riding, try painting. All these skills actually help our brain develop our brain.
So you once said that transforming negative thinking into positive thinking plays an important role in having a good memory. Can you elaborate on this?
Everything we do in life has to do with motivation. And many times people complain about their memory, and that's a negative setback because if, for example, you forget birthdays of your friends all the time and they remind you of this, you will develop the belief that your memory for birthdays is not so good, or if you forget names and faces. But it's not necessarily true. I mean, once you are aware of this fact, all you have to do is tell yourself, okay, I may have a problem with remembering names. I should try, concentrate, remember names, learn some methods how to remember names. That's changing something negative about yourself to something positive, okay? Everything in life is, depends on our mindset, what we believe in and what we can do.
Okay, so speaking of motivation, can you share a story that you've experienced before about how motivation helps to better memory skills?
Well, once I met an old lady, and she wanted me to help her remember stuff like taking her medication on time, and we had a private lesson, and a week later I saw her in the supermarket, and I smiled and greeted her, and she smiled back, and she said, "Have we met?" Now, that sweet lady was not interested in remembering, or improving her memory. She just wanted some company, so she had no motivation to remember anything. However, if, Michael, I offer you $1 million to remember the number we've done before in 5 minutes, you will.
I'll remember it off.
You'll try.
From my heart, like seriously.
Right?
Okay, so on that note about motivation, I now need you to motivate the audience with some other special treats. Have you got some more?
Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to make it real. I want to ask you, what is it that you want to remember after the show, tomorrow when you go to the supermarket? What do you remember you want to buy, and not the ordinary stuff like fruit or vegetables, something perhaps unusual that you want to remember to buy. Okay, let's begin with you. What would you like to remember to buy?
Maybe a washing machine.
You want a washing machine?
It's just
Sure,
an
no
example,
problem.
right?
No problem. I didn't know you buy that in Vietnam in supermarkets. I'm joking, it's okay. You want to remember a washing machine to buy, yes?
Yes.
Good. What would you like to remember?
I would like some cheese.
Cheese.
Yes.
Okay, very well. What would you like to buy?
I would like to buy some snack and tissue.
Okay, snacks and tissue. Okay, and you?
Maybe I want to buy some chopsticks.
Chopsticks?
Chopstick? Yeah.
Okay, chopsticks. And you?
Yes, I want to buy some meat to cook beef noodle
Rice noodle, beef rice noodle.
Okay, I'm coming to your home.
Okay, welcome you.
Thank you. Okay, this is what you have to do to remember. The idea is to take information you want to remember and connect it, associate it to information you will never forget. For example, you will never forget your body. Okay, if I ask you to point at your nose, that's not something you have to think about. We know immediately where our nose is, right? Nose, let me think, where is my nose? Yes, nose here. No, we know where our nose is. So this is what I would like you to do. We are going to create a mental filing system. Like we have folders, drawers, we're going to create files on our body. The files are our body parts. I would like you to move the toes in your shoes. Okay, are you doing that? Touch your knees. Now your bottom. Tickle your belly button. And go like this on your shoulders. Good. Once again, move your toes, knees, bottom, belly button, and shoulders. Now, here's the idea. You're driving your motorcycle. All of a sudden, you remember, I want to buy a washing machine. All you have to do is connect the washing machine to the first file, the first organ, your toes. Doing something really funny and absurd. For example, imagine a washing machine falling on your toes and it really hurts you. That's not funny, but you will remember it, won't you? Can you feel the pain? Feel the pain. Okay, now you would like to buy from the toes, we move to the knees, right? You can imagine you're taking cheese and you're squashing the cheese. It's, like melting on your knees, okay? Cheese on the knees. Oh, that's a nice rhyme, cheese on the knees, okay? Cheese on the knees. Now, you would like to buy tissue and snacks. Okay, this is going to be embarrassing because we're moving on to the bottom.
Oh, no.
So I'll let you imagine whatever you want, tissue and bottom and snacks and whatever. Okay, I think we'll remember that. You would like to buy chopsticks. Okay, we're moving on to our belly button. Yes, imagine tickling with chopsticks and the belly button. Very good. And meat, shoulders. You're carrying lots of meat home, on your shoulders, it's heavy. And that's it. A week later, okay? Don't believe me. We're transforming them to believers. Don't believe me, try yourself. Go over your body, see if you remember. The toes, what was on the toes? Washing machine. Knees, cheese. Bottom, tissue and snacks. Chopsticks and it works? Wonderful, thank you.
Most impressive. So, I noticed that from that little experiment over there, what you were doing was using association as a tool to enhance memory as well as boost attention, right? Can you tell us more about how this works?
Everything we remember is connected, associated to something else we are familiar with. It's really hard to come up with something that doesn't exist in our mind. And the way you do it is you take something that you always remember, not only your body parts, like locations. You remember your home, where your sofa is, what's next to the sofa, and connect information to locations. Later on, you go over the locations that you always remember. They will remind you of the information. Now, in exams, students can summarize, take highlights, and associate keywords of what they read to different parts in their home, locations. When you're sitting in an exam, okay, you have no pressure, no anxiety because you remember locations. And then you just remember what is related to each location. So right now, even if I ask you, What's related to the knee? Remember? Knees? Cheese, right?
It rhymes, yeah.
Okay. Do you feel the pain on your toe from the?
Washing machine.
It works. That's how it works.
Some people actually remember things from 30 years ago better than what happened only yesterday. Can you explain this little phenomenon?
We remember very well what happened when we were young, because when we were young, everything was new and exciting. And as we grow up, and I think everybody knows what I'm talking about, we have seen everything, we know everything. Nothing is engraved in our memory in the same exciting way as when we were young. So actually the biggest tip to remember anything and actually to have a wonderful life is one word: enthusiasm. Be enthusiastic in your daily life. You'll see how easily you remember things and how the quality of your life improves.
Now, Eran also had an interesting experience working with the other Vietnamese students, holding a seminar in Hanoi as well. Let's have a closer look at what happened.
Continue walking. 500 digits. Everyone can do this. If I offer you $1 million to remember this in 5 minutes, you will, won't you? Everything is about motivation in life.
This was what Eran Katz told Vietnamese youngsters in a workshop held in Hanoi on March the 31st. With his talent and sharing, Eran Katz captured the attention and admiration from all people in the room, even from those who had just learned about him.
Tôi nghĩ ông ấy là một người rất giỏi, bởi vì là khi mà đọc một dãy số như thế thì cho tôi 5 phút chưa chắc tôi đã nhớ được.
I read some reviews about Eran Katz, about his books, and also like his sharing about memorize. And I really appreciate and also value that. And he also provides me the methods of memorizing things better. So I really admire that.
Demaclia, Napoleon, Tat figure, and association were introduced in the workshop. They sound complicated, but actually were well transferred to audience thanks to simple explanation and interesting stories from Eran Katz's experience. Therefore, dates, events, names, and faces of strangers, or large amounts of content of a long presentation which seemed difficult to remember, become much easier to jump into mind.
Mình thấy đây là những cái phương pháp rất là hiệu quả và đơn giản. Mình có thể áp dụng ngay trong cuộc sống hàng ngày.
The workshop was jointly held by Israel's embassy in Vietnam and Vietnamese agencies. It is among the activities to promote relations between Israel and Vietnam.
Knowing a country, it's knowing its people. And Eran Katz is somebody, an Israeli, who has been performing and, as I said, performing his memory techniques, and it allows Vietnamese to learn more about who we are.
No matter which methods are applied, one of the keys to memorize things besides motivation is concentration.
Thank you. Round of applause. Thank you.
This was also one among Eran Katz's tips for the audience at the workshop.
So this is the third time you've been here in Vietnam. What brought you back here this time?
I was invited by the Israeli embassy, part of my collaboration with the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Kennedy used to say, what you can do, think what you can do for your nation and not for yourself. This is my feeling as a diplomatic mission, to show the nice sides about Israel. Israel is a wonderful country, lots of innovation, lots of startup companies contributing a lot to the world. And since I'm part of Israel, I'm glad, to show the wonderful sides about Israel and, of course, help Vietnamese students, people improve their skills with what I can help. And actually, an interesting fact, I give seminars around the world. The only ones that constantly write to me are Vietnamese students. Mm-hmm. And that is wonderful, because the only way to succeed is by asking questions. Asking questions, getting information, never be shy. Don't be shy. And Vietnamese are not shy.
I think that's because Vietnam's becoming more and more globalized these days, which sort of sparks a great interest in learning foreign languages, for example, English as well. Now, you're the expert with memorizing. Can you share more about the connection between having a good memory and learning a foreign language?
Sure. Actually, we can accelerate our language learning process. And the way to do it is very interesting. There are studies showing that we need only 1,000 words, 1,000 of the most popular words in any language to read and understand 75% of a newspaper. So if you learn 30, 40 words a day, in 1 month you can read any newspaper in the world. By the way, the following 1,000 words in popularity will increase your ability to understand that specific newspaper only by 5%. So that shortens the list. It's encouraging because we think we need thousands of words, 10,000 words. No, only 1,000 words, only 100 verbs, okay? And there are ways to remember vocabulary faster. For example, if you want to learn French, okay? The word for dog in French is chien. Chien. And you play with associations. In Vietnamese, does chien sound like something like chien? Fighting? How do you say fighting?
Yeah. Chien.
Chien. So imagine two French dogs fighting. Chien. Okay? Chien. Chien. Two French dogs fighting, hitting baguettes or whatever. Okay?
Okay.
So now you remember the word chien.
Eran Katz is a best-selling author of several books on memory training, two of which, Jewish Wisdom and Secrets of a Super Memory, have been published and welcomed widely in Vietnam. His books have been translated into 18 languages, won several literary prizes, and sold more than 500,000 copies worldwide. The book Secrets of a Super Memory introduces techniques including the Roman room, Pinocchio, and many other methods that help remember names, faces, and boost the ability to recall dates, events, and long-digit numbers. Many readers have found that his books are interesting to read with a good sense of humor.
You've written a few books as well on your studies and basically your experience, learning about memorizing and all that. Now, you mentioned achieving the superhuman memory. How does this work?
Since it was my goal to help people boost their brain power, I wrote several books. One of them is Secrets of a Super Memory. They are translated to Vietnamese. The other is Jerome Becomes a Genius. And in those books, I try to teach hopefully everything. Also, ancient Jewish techniques to boost brain power. There's a lot in common between Jewish people and Vietnamese people. Both of us had a very sad history, which required us to think 2 steps ahead. And what is wonderful about this is that both nations put the past in the past in many ways and moved on.
So based on what you said, is it possible for one to erase memories, bad memories?
Definitely. There are ways to erase memories, various ways. First of all, bad memories have a lot of emotions. So you have to get rid of those emotions related to those memories. One way of doing it is, for example, forgiving those that hurt us. If you forgive someone, you regain power over the situation because you're the one who forgives. And then you don't have so much stress about that specific memory you have. Another way, interestingly, we can actually give our brain a command to erase memories. I'll give you a nice example.
All right.
When you go to sleep, sometimes something is bothering you. You want to solve a certain problem that is bothering you. You have to talk to somebody tomorrow that you don't really want to talk to. Now, normally what we do in order to get rid of that problem is we try to come up with a new, nice memory thought before we go to sleep. Let's say a nice beach, flowers, something nice that will help us relax. Apparently, that's a mistake. Why? Because now the brain thinks of two solutions. One, he's looking for flowers or a beach, a nice thought, and he's looking for a way to solve the problem with that person we don't want to talk to. So you should tell your brain, say to him, "Dear brain, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we shall find two solutions to the problem." And at that moment, you commanded him to go away during the night, and you will see, surprisingly, that you will not think about it. The brain realizes we're going to find a solution tomorrow, and you can sleep well.
So you talked about how erasing good memories is possible as well. But now here, can you tell us about a situation where adversity pushes a man to accelerate and better his memory skills and, achieve what you call it, the superhuman memory, right?
Yeah. Well, once again, it depends on motivation. For example, the conductor Toscanini, the Italian conductor, he loved conducting music, and unfortunately he started losing his hearing. He became deaf, and in order to continue conducting, he memorized lots of musical pieces because that was his motivation, to use his memory. And there's also a nice story about an Armenian woman that she didn't know how to read or write, and she had the business, so she remembered all her clients, the prices, everything, because she didn't know how to read or write. She used her memory. So these are kind of simple people that had an incredible memory because of the problems they had. And by the way, there's a myth that I would like to dispel. People talk about these superhumans with a photographic memory. Mm-hmm. Those that can look at a page for several seconds, repeat word by word. Never in the history of mankind was there such a person. I'm telling you now on TV, I will pay $10,000 for anyone who has that skill and can show me that. I will show him a random page and he can memorize it in several seconds, okay? That's my challenge for the viewers.
You mentioned earlier in the conference that you had earlier that 40% of the Nobel Prize winners are actually Jewish. What are their secrets?
The biggest secret is feeling uncomfortable. That's the biggest secret, because if you think about it, Nobel Prize winners, they achieved the prize because they found a solution to a problem. And many Jews, they had lots of problems. They had to think of solutions. They had to think 2 steps ahead. How can we make it different? How can we make it better? And ever since, it was their motivation to help people. Israel today has so many startups helping so many people, including Vietnam, irrigation solutions and medical equipment. Everything you use on your device, not everything, but a lot is made in Israel. And that innovation is to help. Once, people sometimes think that we all, want money. But if you really want to make money in your life, the best way to do it is help someone else and not think about the money. That's the solution. Once you help somebody, money will follow you.
Our memory is better than we think. Sometimes it's allowed to fail. If we trust in our memory, it will not disappoint us. With a positive mindset, our brain can do miracles. If we want to have a wonderful memory, we will have it.
Now, some people argue that memorizing is just another way of repeating and copying intelligence. Is there a way for memorization to become creative?
Repetition sometimes is necessary, but it's not the best solution because it's like on a blank head. You repeat, you repeat, you repeat, and it's kind of boring. But once you use fun methods like we used with the ceiling and with the knees and everything, that's using our imagination, using creativity. It's much better than reciting material with no purpose. So the best is to use imagination and use our senses, for example, because if you try memorizing by other senses, like you can imagine the water of the ocean when the Titanic is sinking, or you can imagine the smell of the cheese on the knees, that increases your ability to remember.
Okay, so last but not least, the grand question of all time. How do you avoid making mistakes and make good decisions?
Basically, we make mistakes when we are tired. So if you have to make a decision, do not ever make it at night, because at night, problem seems bigger. Wait till the morning till you make a decision. Second, avoid those things that create mistakes. For example, you know what is the #1 cause for car accidents? Text messaging on a phone. Everybody knows that, but people continue to talk on the phone and text messages. If you are aware of that, if you have a family that is important for you, put the phone aside and don't touch it while you're driving. That's the second thing you can help yourself. Third thing, it's called the illusion of control, where we think we are really smart, We have an ego, we think we know everything. It is not true. It happens many times, for example, in the stock market. People say, I heard so many people tell me, I know how to win money in the stock market. Nobody knows how to win money in the stock market because it's gambling, the stock market. I have lots of friends that tell me that, and I tell them, okay, I want you to tell me how to make money when the stock market is falling. If you can show me that, I will believe you. Nobody can do that. It's because our ego, we think we know the truth, we know solutions. We should be more modest. Be modest, be humble, make less mistakes.
Fantastic. I absolutely enjoyed it. Every single question and answer with you today. How about you guys? Yes! There you go.
Thank you.
You very much for joining our show.
Thank you, Michael.
And we hope that you at home, like many other audience members as well, sitting here tonight, enjoyed a little chat about memory and the importance of it. So please do not rely too much on technology and computers. And what else would you like to say before we close the show?
I would like to thank everyone, and I would like to say that I love your country. You have a fabulous country. I will come here again to meet people. My wife is here with me. She's traveling, I'm working. She's the one who's having fun. Thank you for the hospitality very much.
It's all well deserved.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of Talk Vietnam. I'm Michael Liu. Goodbye for now, and until next time.